in 2020, even amidst the pandemic, the comic book industry sold the most physical comics it's ever sold in history.
Really? Wait, amidst the... Oh, shit, that's fucking crazy. Through, like, just in general, right? Just comic books in general?
Yeah, throughout comic book history, they sold the most physical copies for the first time in history in the pandemic. Like, I think that's pretty insane. Like, I saw that, and I was like, wow. Like, that's really surprising.
I know right now art is selling the most it's ever been, especially with the pandemic. Like, independent art and all that stuff is really popular right now. But I didn't know that. That's fucking wild.
I was like, even a lot of comic book creators were surprised to see that. They were like, wow. And people say, like, print is dead. Like, clearly it's not dead. It is still alive and well.
My bad.
I think, you know, I think comics are great, and like when it started for me with reading comics in freshman year of high school, like it started off very slow, and then it wasn't until my junior year of high school where I started actually going to the comic book store and started buying comics weekly.
Okay.
Because comics come out every Wednesday. That's like that.
That's the day. Because I know it's video game. Hold on, wait. Shout out to the motorcycles. Hold on. So comic books come out on Wednesdays. Movies come out on Tuesdays. Oh, video games come out on Tuesdays.
Yeah, video games come out on Tuesdays. Movies come out on Fridays.
Movies come out on Fridays. There we go. But okay, continue. So
yeah,
comics come out on Wednesdays.
So like, because by that point I was living upstate, and I was like, I should just really fulfill this like white boy lifestyle and go to the local comic book store. And so that's what I would start doing, and I would start reading my comics weekly, and that's when I started buying issues, because issues are what come out every week, and like different storylines and different books will come out on a different schedule. Like some comics will come out monthly, others will come out bi-weekly.
According to storyline, I'm assuming. Like, that makes sense, no? Like,
it's more so just scheduling.
Oh, okay.
Because like for some comics, like for some creators, it's not easy to release a comic every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so they'll have that book come out monthly.
It's like a musician. Give me a song every week. Chill. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's OD.
So like for other creators, it's easier. Like other creators are able to like go by do this bi-weekly schedule for their comics and things like that.
Okay.
And sometimes there will be special like events and things like that where a certain series will come out weekly, and those are always like really fun,
of course,
and exciting, because it's like every week you're really like, oh shit, let's see what's gonna happen next. Like at that point it almost becomes like TV.
No, I mean it is,
like,
and books are like, not to be like cheesy, but books are great, man. Books are comic books. I mean, I would assume so. Like, it has it in the title, and I don't know, man. It's just a different realm that I think. You can see how much I don't know about it now. You know what I mean? And it's very interesting.
It's
like,
understandable.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I would ask, have you ever read a comic?
I think there's a comic book called Bones. I think so. You know, a little bit of Bones. You know, a little bit of Bones. Captain Underpants was also really fun. Yeah. One of my favorite when I was a kid. And I also wrote comic books called Pencil and Paper. That's the only thing I've done. I did like a whole series and stuff like that with experiments and whatever. And then aside from that, like my ultimate goal was to put it in a newspaper, a little comic book. But I don't know. Eventually I wanted to be a cartoonist, right? Like that was like my dream when I was younger, right? But I don't know. I think cartoons now are kind of trash, and not all of them, of course. Like when it comes to mainstream cartoons, like I know they're kind of daring. Like Regular Show is great, and all the content. Like I even like Chowder, Flapjack, all those things. They were fun shows.
But they didn't last long.
They didn't last long, and I never understood that, because they were what a cartoon was supposed to be, wacky, like you know, literally stuff like that, you know. But just on a darker level, where it's always kind of been dark, you know, and so
like even rewatching those shows, like when you're older, is like still just as enjoyable.
Yes.
Like my brother and I are rewatching all of Adventure Time right now.
Yeah, man, that show's fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
It's so good.
Yes, and so for shows to even captivate because it's made for a lot of audience. It's not just made for little children. You know what I mean? I think that's lost in most mainstream cartoons, and I think the way we're developing cartoons, like younger children wise, it's just weird geometric figures with way too sophisticated talking about boring stuff that nobody cares about. There's no fun like jokes no more. You know?
I think what really died was Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
I think in general people just started waking up later, and so it was like
that's what happened.
Because I'm so serious, because it's like you look at some shows like on Cartoon Network that like would air like. I remember at a certain point I started missing out on like the newer episodes of like like fucking Ninja Turtles, like back in the day, and like Teen Titans and shit like that, and I would have to wait for like reruns, and it's like that sucked. And it's like I think
commercials and shit all the time.
And I think just more people over time, more kids over time, just in general as a society, we just maybe started waking up later in the day and just started missing out on those like things. And maybe that's why cartoons like Adventure Time and Regular Show, I remember, would come out Wednesday nights at a certain point. Like they started switching it up, and it's just, and then I remember at a certain point I started missing out on those because I was outside hanging out. And
basically, like you were busy living, you know what I mean? Not that you aren't when you're watching stuff, but we're not outside as much, especially like just because.
And so it's interesting, like the market of how that happened, of like these great shows that were just genuinely really good, but like people just weren't watching them, and that's like, damn, that sucks.
It does. And the people that are watching are like either little kids or the people that just like whatever. I don't know, man. I'm just disappointed in cartoons. Like, I'm disappointed in modern art. You know what I mean? Like, I think modern art now is kind of cool because I'm assuming modern art always changes with time, right? Like, but now it's no longer like you have to be this prestigious person in a museum. Like, of course, you can still be like, you know, great that. But I think social media has changed that completely. I think, like you said, like with the comics book selling, I know like people selling stuff online where we're just booming because it's just like, why the fuck not? I've always like, ever since I read this on the plane, I guess because I was on the plane, I've always read that this is a very common trend that people are saying, like legacy over currency. And I don't think it's necessarily about money no more. Look, I know it's always about money at the end of the day, like paying bills, all that stuff. But I think like we're understanding, especially with cancel culture being put into everything, like your legacy is more crucial now more than ever. Like if you win the lotto, it kind of sucks because you kind of want to keep existing, right? You're kind of always like, not to say that, you know, if you're posting yourself every day, but if you're communicating to a social level every day, you have to maintain a stability, not to represent yourself in a go way, but just so you can function, and that can just be a part of your life. And so for me, what was I even saying, bro? It's just legacy over currency. Like we have to maintain. I don't know, man. I think our purposes have shifted, and it's no longer this small job stuff. At least I don't want to be surrounded by that, because living your passion is crucial, especially today. We have so much tools to live our passions today. You know what I mean? And
I mean, like I think like you're definitely not wrong in that sense and idea of like art is kind of dead nowadays in a way where it's not as appreciated the same way anymore.
No, we're overwhelmed with so much art, or everything.
There's almost an oversaturation of art where it's like it's hard to say what's better and what's not, and the idea of originality becomes a lot more muddled because of that. And it's like at a certain point, everything is just kind of the same thing, just different strokes. And it
literally that.
And it's just like, I mean, Disney does it like the best. They fucking sell you the same movie with every great Pixar movie, and it's beautiful every time, and you're always gonna shed a tear.
No matter what,
you're always gonna shed a tear.
They have the perfect formula,
but it's the same goddamn formula. Like that's the shit Plankton's looking for, and it's like, it's wild, man. It's
because we like the same things, man. We don't like to change up. I think that's what it is. We're the generation that's gonna keep remaking stuff until the next one is like, stop. Let's make original thing.
I think a lot of that is mostly just because
mainstream-wise, you know.
I think mostly just a lot of that is because of the rise of like companies and corporations and everything like that, and social media and influencing and all this shit of like companies now know how to sell the best way.
100%.
Because they have the technology to do that.
Not to be like cheesy, but algorithm. It's super there, man. It's
all it is.
Yeah. Like there's a reason there's a certain ad where you're at that time here on out. There's a bunch of reasons. Even like if you're trauma, they say you're gonna dream ads, you know what I mean, eventually. Like Google Glasses, like that's just gonna go into your face, man. I know that shit was not, but like just VR, right? So how do you think this translates to the VR being applied into the world? And because I've been hearing a lot about that stuff, right? And it's going to be...
I have a VR headset.
Yeah, no, I see.
And I've been using VR since 2016 now, so I've been using it for a while now.
But one thing I want to ask real quick, do you think NFT comic books are going to be a thing?
Well, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
because it's the business side of like Marvel and DC and Image Comics
copyright and everything,
and other publishers that are going to say no, because DC, once NFTs were already rising, DC was very quick to tell all their artists, don't think about it. Like they're trying to figure something out, because because what it seems like, it's like when you draw something for Marvel or DC that is officially their property, and that is how it works in the industry. I've seen like
that makes sense.
I've seen like comic artists talk about how even though they designed this character, they don't get money for like the costumes that get made.
That's the property of Marvel. You just have the chance and the privilege to draw from.
Exactly. You like. Because at the end of the day, working for Marvel and DC is more of a privilege than anything else.
I agree completely. You're not there to do much, really, unless you're changing the story or, in my opinion.
And it's like, you can become a really big name in that industry, in either, like, Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
But, like, you need to really have, like, some crazy shit cooking up.
Yeah, I agree. Because it doesn't get much... The core base is there. Like, for Marvel, at the end of the day, if they fail at every new comic they put out, they will always have, Marvel will always have their characters, DC will always have their characters, right? That's awesome, man. I think that's so timeless. You know what I mean? Like, I think holographic comic books will be a thing. Like a little chamber right there, and you just go, and it just pops out, and you get to read, I think that's going to be a thing for sure.
I used to make these little comics when I was in elementary school about these 3 ghosts. And I call them like the adventure of the Ghosties.
Okay, nice. That's awesome.
they would always just be stupid little things that would happen to them. And like, one of them was like, there was a tornado attacking their mansion, and they were like, oh no, like, we gotta stop the tornado, like, we gotta, like, stop, like, save our house. And like, one of them was like, okay, I'm gonna go in there. And he goes in, and he gets sucked up by the tornado and dissipates because he's a ghost.
Okay.
And they're just like, is he gonna come back? And that was it.
That's it, right? Scene. You know what I mean? But that's all it takes. And now look at you. You know what I mean? Like, that, look what it led up to in terms of like comic book creating and stuff like that.
I always think about those things because it's like, I didn't want to make comics like from the beginning. Like, that wasn't my intention. I didn't think of that until my freshman year of college. Like, that, it wasn't until then where I was like, I want to do this. Like, but when I look back at my life, like, there's been moments where there was this story that I wrote for middle school once, where in my English class, our teacher was like, oh, like, creative writing, like it was the first time that it had ever happened where I was like, creative writing, I can write whatever the fuck I want. What?
Yeah, that's the best shit ever. That core writing stuff is the worst, the absolute worst.
And I wrote a story about how I basically wrote a twisted version of Toy Story where if toys came to life one day but like tried to take over the earth. And so
Chucky, just boom.
I bounce around like different like news like broadcasts in the story where it's awesome. Like, oh my god, like Woody and like the rest of the gang are like attacking children in the Toys R Us, and like I don't remember exactly what I wrote, but I wrote shit like that where it's like I think I remember writing something like, if you're near a Toys R Us, like, get out of there or whatever. And
holy god. Just fucking, you see Matt, Cabbage Patch Kids. Just fucking,
I had so much fun writing it, and I just wrote it to write it, and I was like, that was fun. And like, my teacher approached my mom called my mom one day and was like, we want to like put his story in like in the school newspaper thing because like this shit is great. And I was like, what?
Yeah, man. And that's how you like motivate, you know what I mean? Like,
and that was just all for fun. And like throughout high school, I was just always good at like writing my papers, and like my teachers would always tell my mom that like he writes really good papers and whatever the case is. And like, I remember for my sophomore, I can't even remember anything, senior year of high school, my English class for that, we had to do like a public speaking thing for a project once.
Okay.
And
how do you feel public speaking now?
Well, that
wasn't the correct sentence, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Personally, like, I never had much of a problem with like public speaking. Good. I guess like I'm a very quiet person, but like as you have scene, like once you get to talk to me and like get to like just like get a conversation going with me, like I will keep talking.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's great. You have a lot to say. You have a lot in your mind. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just more so of a quiet person because it's like I'm just kind of doing my own thing. A lot of the times where I kind of had tunnel vision, I'm like, we're like going to school, like when I was commuting and whatnot. It's like at that point I was just going in and out to get my classes and go back home. I didn't want to be there. I was like, I want to get the fuck out.
Yeah, yo.
But when I was dorming, I was like, yeah, like, yo, what up? Like, whatever. Let's do shit.
Let's go
like,
somewhere. Let's do some shit. Let's burn some shit.
It was just like the environment that changed, where it's just like by the time I was commuting, I like became more of a quiet person because it's like I wasn't surrounded by people all the time anymore. Yeah. But like,
you had your space.
Yeah, and like, so public speaking has never been too much of a fear of mine. Yeah. Like, obviously public speaking is always going to give everyone like the shakes or whatever the case is.
And some people are naturals, of course.
Yeah.
Barack Obama.
You know what I mean? And like I even for that English class we did 2 public speaking things, and the first one we had to do was like kind of an art project thing, and I did it about stencil art because I did a lot of stenciling in high school.
What is the difference between stenciling and just not stenciling?
So stenciling, like, pretty much is like what I used to do is that I would either recreate an already existing image or create a new image, and what I would do is that I would basically draw out the shape and figure out which colors are going to go in which spaces. Then I would have to think about how am I going to cut out these spaces without like these other parts of the paper just falling out.
Okay, everything has to go together.
Yeah, so like if you ever look at stencil art, like you'll always see kind of like lines that kind of go into things. Like if you look at stencil letters, like an O is never a full O because it has that line down the center.
Okay, like this is the center of it, and this is the halves.
Yeah, like those lines are there because technically you can't cut out an O out of a paper and have that center like there. So those lines are there for that. And so creating stencil art, you need to think about where you're going to put those lines and think about which colors are going to go in which spaces. And from there, you copy like that image, you make copies of it, because then you need to start cutting out those shapes for each of those colors, for each of those layers, pretty much.
Okay.
And you take it to the canvas, you start off at the base, you move to the next layer, put that one down, you go to the next layer, you put that one down, and that's stencil art.
Jesus Christ. I like that you explained, because to me now I hear that a lot. To have a full explanation can define what it is, you know what I mean? And,
yeah, I mean, I would post it on like my Instagram and stuff. Yeah. Like I will show you it. And
please don't show the camera. I'm gonna be for GoPro right there.
Yeah.
I'll take a second. Art by Behind the Counter, by the way. At Behind the Counter. This is the art who it's from.
This is a picture of all the ones that I made, so you can kind of like zoom in around on that if you want. Gotcha. And then I also have like individual images of each of those stencils that I had made, and they're all just like superhero based and whatnot. And because I just wanted to do that.
I'll even post it realistically.
Yeah.
But just because you showed me like this right now.
Yeah, I just like. I always had some kind of passion for like making art or writing or drawing in superheroes and comics. Like it was always kind of there.
Yeah.
And I just never really thought about it too much. And it wasn't until the first time that I went to Comic-Con, the first year I went to Comic-Con.
What year was it? Do you remember?
It was my freshman year of college. That was 2015.
Okay. Before the pandemic, before masks.
Yeah, that was way before. So it was 2015.
Just masks of like cosplay.
You know what I mean? Those were the only masks.
Uh-huh.
But I bought one ticket to go for one day out of the 4 days that Comic-Con runs.
Okay.
And that was on the Sunday because I waited in line all day for it, and the Sunday tickets were the only ones that were still available by the time I could buy a ticket. And I was broke, so I could only get one ticket. And so I was like, I guess I'm going on Sunday.
Uh-huh.
And one of my favorite like comic book runs is that Deadpool run I told you about. And
blew my mind with that shit. Deadpool in general, just look that shit up.
It's an entire 8-volume run, and I have like all 8 volumes of it. And I was like, at the time, I was like, what I need to do is get the original creators of Deadpool to sign this, and the guys who wrote and drew this Deadpool run, all on this one page.
Who are all those guys, if you can name them?
So, the original creators of Deadpool are Rob Liefeld, who's an artist, and Fabian Nicieza, who's a writer.
Fabian Nicieza, what a badass name. Okay.
They created Deadpool, and like, there's kind of an interesting like thing there where I haven't like super looked into it, but Fabian Nicieza is very much more well regarded as a creator of Deadpool.
Okay. And it always is like that.
And Fabian Nicieza is a little like undervalued, like kind of undershined for that. I don't know why that is or what the story is behind that.
Ego. Just ego. If not them, the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know what I'm saying, but I think that. You know what I mean? I think so.
But
it's always something.
Like Rob Liefeld always has a massive line at these shows. He goes to every con. Everyone fucking loves him. So I purposely said, I'm going to go see you last. And so, unfortunately,
nice.
the artist who drew that Deadpool book, I'm trying to remember his name, I don't think it was Travis Moore. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Travis something.
I don't even think it was Travis. I'll tell you right there. I'm going to just
But what was
he
he, though? What was he?
He was the artist of Deadpool Volume 1. Okay. Only that volume. He didn't do the art for any of the other volumes of Deadpool, but it was just such amazing art. And he unfortunately wasn't there that day at Comic-Con, so I was like, damn, can't get his signature. But I was able to get Jerry Duggan's signature, who is the writer of that Deadpool run, and it was great meeting him. And I've met him plenty of times after that. Nice. And I have another funny story with him at 2 Comic-Cons after that. So after I got Jerry Duggan's signature, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Fabian Nicieza. Wait in line, and I finally. And by this point in my life, I'm a semester into college. I'm going to college for computer science, and I'm just kind of like, I guess. I didn't like it at all. I hated it. I was like, this sucks.
I just hate that so many people go to school and just like are doing something where they're just like, and there's like. Not in a bad way, just, like, I just wish there was truer, more applied guidance, Like, they're just just, like, floating in the tank and just find yourself out.
I mean, I was kind of, like, pushed into a corner in terms of, like, going to college and whatnot.
Fair.
And so, like, because my family really wanted me to go. I didn't want to go. They were like, you have to. And the only 2 schools that accepted me were both computer science schools. So I was just kind of like... Well, there are my choices, so...
Do you think in post that you appreciated the experience? Or, like, not, I mean, I'm sure you appreciated certain things.
I massively appreciate it.
Like, you didn't regret it at all, no?
I don't regret going to college
that's good.
At all.
That's good, because I think some people are satisfied with just the fact that they made the choice that they didn't go. And that's perfectly fine. But I feel like every single time, more often than not, you appreciate even, like, a semester of school. Like... I don't know. There's something about just socializing with people and learning. Like that really still is fun. Like
it's genuinely just an experience, and it's cliche, and everyone says it, but it's just like you're never gonna experience college unless you experience it. Really you'll never know that feeling.
And it doesn't even have to be dorms, which I'm sure you love the dorm part.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the dorm part is probably really fucking fun.
Because like my brother has a friend who doesn't want to go to college and is super like against it, and like, but he's also kind of an idiot, and he kind of is saying all these things for the wrong reasons.
Just because type shit.
Yeah, and like. He said to me before, like, oh, but like, what's the big deal? Because it's like, if these guys are going to college, it's like, if I want to go hang out with them, if I want to go stay with them at their dorms, I can just go do that. If there's a party, I can just go do that. I'm not missing out on the experience. I'm like, you are. Like, I told him, I was like, I literally had a friend who would sleep out in our dorm like almost every weekend. We would do crazy shit with him all the time, and he would still say, man, I wish I lived in the dorms with you guys.
Yeah, because you want to, just to have the same people around you, like you're going through the same experience, you're growing together. It's a community. Like you want to be a part of that. Like you don't want to just be the guy that comes, like, oh, it's that guy.
Exactly.
Like it's this person from this. Not to say that you're insignificant if you're not attending, but you kind of are, kind of.
Yeah, and like that's only the social aspect of it all. Where it's like, I just genuinely appreciate like the knowledge that I got out of going to college. Man.
That's ultimately the best part of it.
Especially for in my case where I got pretty much reset when I transferred to Hunter and they didn't take any of my credits.
So stupid,
and I had to be in Hunter for another 3.5 years. So I was in college for 5.5 years of my life.
Jesus Christ.
And I still don't regret it, because really going to Hunter and like having to kind of restart in that way,
Yeah. I regret paying for it.
Yeah,
That's the one thing. But
like I almost, but yeah, I mean, like basically restarting like that, I almost refined what I was already learning by having to start over at Hunter.
Yeah.
Like I hated it in the moment, but like
long run, it teaches you and it humbles you.
Yeah, it's just like now it's
Yeah.
like I've been in school for 5.5 years. Like I feel like I can confidently say, yeah, I think I know what I'm talking about when I say some of this shit. It's like
I agree heavily, bro. I think the experience in itself, and again back to the humbling part, like you are pretty inferior before, like not just college, but any sort of progression in the world. Like then if not college, work, if not work, parenting, like but you need to be challenged on some level, bro. And I think college is the best, like all around level. Like you literally need to conform it yourself in order to be correctly challenged for something that you want to do in the future.
I mean,
like,
that's why
I still think the guidance is lacking in like community college, in my opinion. Like,
I mean, that's why people say that like you find yourself in college, and like that's where you learn who you are, because that's true.
And you get smarter, and you learn about yourself and everything. And I agree, man. I don't regret anything in college, even though like for me, college was super rough, and it's like mentally it was one of the toughest times ever, you know, for me. Like,
it was for me too.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
but it aided.
College is one of the best and worst times of your life.
Yeah, hell yeah.
like some of the best things in your life are also the worst things.
Of course.
But at this Comic-Con, this was the first year I got to go, and I was like so happy that I finally got to really experience my passion, like almost really delve into something that was a hobby for me.
Look at this, man. This is mad Rough Riders right now, bro. So get shout out to DMX. I hope you're good, DMX. They always pass it by, bro. Always. Look, he's doing a fucking wheelie. Look, you see it?
Damn.
You see that shit? That shit is crazy.
I do.
That's fucking wild.
You love the smell of gasoline.
I heard when you go to DR, there's a certain smell of gasoline. I hear it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you know about it.
People don't know how to drive. There's no rules in DR, man. You just drive.
I went to DR with my friend Carol. Thank you, Carol, for taking me. And the first thing we did, we got picked up at the airport, and him and his uncle drove us, and got picked up at the gas station. 2 presidentes. The guy driving. You know, we passed the cops, whatever. Like,
there are no rules there,
bro,
man. You
DR
just
is fun.
The minivan taxis there, they keep their side doors open. I remember the first time as a kid getting in it, and I tried to close the door, and the driver's like, "Oh no, don't do that." And I was like,
"How often do you go to DR?"
I haven't been to DR since I was like 10. I haven't been there in a long time, to be honest.
I'm trying to go back, bro. I loved it over there. Just for the time being I went, bro, it was such a good time.
I just went so often, like twice a year, where at a certain point I was like, yo, like we do the same thing every time we go there.
That's also that too, you know what I mean? Especially if you're not living there, you're just visiting all the time. Like, you're right.
So I stopped going at a certain point, and I haven't gone back, and I want to, I just haven't done it. Yeah, I mean, with college, like just not wanting to do what I was doing and just hating it, and being at Comic-Con, I was just it was like the first time where I was like actually like really happy in college, where I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah,
like
man.
there's so many people like me here that like love this shit just as much as I do. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, this is insane. It was a whole new world to me. And so I'm waiting in line for Fabian and Chetzia. I waited almost an hour in line to meet this dude.
Yeah.
And I'm finally about to meet him. And something that I learned that year as well is that like comic creators, what they do to make money on the side is that like at conventions, like they'll charge like for a certain amount after a certain number of signatures, or for a certain signature specific.
Oh, so if you already done 100, after that it gets higher priced, or like what do you mean?
So some writers and artists, it's like you get like the first 3 issues are free, and then each issue after that you'll have to pay like $5 or something.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like a way for creators to like make money more directly for themselves, for their work and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so like Fabian Chetzia, like with a name like himself especially, like
so dope name. So dope.
He charges like from the get, like out of the gate and whatnot. So it was like $5 straight up for a signature, and like I'm ready to go up. I'm like the next person in line, and this other writer comes up to Fabian Chetzia, and like they say hi to each other and they start having a conversation about like stuff that's happening. And I'm just listening to these guys talk about it. And I didn't know it at the time, but that writer was Charles Soule, who I've met many times after that. And I'm just like, wow, man, that's wild that was Charles Soule, and I just didn't know. I'm an asshole.
I'm done. But you got to witness them that ass talking about some shit that they were doing.
And they were just talking about behind the scenes stuff and writing and like how he wrote this new book and he was giving him a copy and like the process and things like that and whatever. And I'm just like, wow, this is really interesting. This is great.
That's kind of cool to witness, to be honest with you. Hell yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so once they were done and whatnot, like Fabian and Chetsia, like he apologized to me and he's all like, oh, like I'm like sorry about that, you know, like business stuff. I'm like, oh, it's all good. Like I love that. Like that was cool, like man. Great. That was like really good to hear. That was exciting. Like I actually like writing sometimes too, and so it's interesting to hear these kinds of things. And he goes, let me stop you right there. And he goes, what have you written? And I was like,
shit.
And I was like, well, I mean,
my god,
I haven't like actually written anything. I just kind of do it for fun. And he cuts me off again. He's like, what? Listen, are you like in school or anything right now? I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, listen, if you're in school, like, and if this is something you want to do, like, you should be taking it more serious. Like, you need to stay in school and like, you can't just read comics all of your life.
Use it to your advantage as you're in school, that you can get better at what you want to do.
Yeah, he was like, you can't just read comic books for your whole life. Like if this is something you want to do ever, like you need to learn from the basics, and that starts with reading these books in school and learning these things that you're not going to learn anywhere else.
Hell yeah!
And you need to learn how to start writing stories and finishing those stories. You're never going to be able to tell these big things if you can't finish these small things first.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
And he's telling me all these things, and I'm just like...
I just wanted to see shit, man.
I was like...
I just pay $5.
What?
That's really great, though, man. That's really a lesson right there.
He humbled me with all of his knowledge, and like he signed my book, and he wrote my name in it, and he didn't charge me anything, and like he was just like, I hope to see you around, and I stepped away from that, and I was with my friend at the time.
One single tear shed.
I was with my friend who I met that year at college, and we stepped aside for a second. I froze, and he was just like, "You good, Javi?" And I just bursted out loud laughing. I shed a tear, and I was like,
shit!
And I was like, "Yo!" And I looked, and I was like, "Yo, what am I doing with computer science?
Yeah.
What the fuck?"
Nice.
And
epiphany type shit, you know.
That very next day, that very next Monday, I went to my guidance counselor and I was like, yo, this shit ain't it. English, sign me up. And and it was from that day that I was like, I want to make comics. This is it. Like, I know this is what I want to do now. And yeah, like that.
That's fucking beautiful, bro. Wow, that's a really beautiful story.
And since that day at like other convention, like following Comic Cons, like I've gone to see Fabian and Chetsia again, and like that same year that I switched to an English major, I also did an internship at Comics Verse, and that was like my first step where I was like, yeah, I'm actually doing this shit. I wrote like comic reviews. I
lived up to what he said to do. You know.
And but one of the great things I got to do at that internship too is that I got to interview one of my favorite YouTuber groups, cool. Achievement Hunter.
Awesome.
Because
you reached out to them and everything. You were like, okay.
I got to do a phone interview with the guy who created Achievement Hunter.
Oh wow!
And I kind of actually like look up to that guy. He's genuinely like a very inspirational, motivational person, and like. So to interview him for this internship, and I had no idea this was going to happen. Like, I remember they put it out that week. It's like, yo, we need someone to do an interview for Achievement Hunter. Does anyone watch them? And I was like, I do. What?
Oh, man, it's always somebody.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and
man.
So I got to do some pretty good things at that internship. And like that, so that after that internship, that same year, going to Comic-Con, I waited in line another hour to see Fabian Chetsia and to get anything signed, but just to go up to him and be like, dude, I'm doing it. Like, I listened to you, and I'm doing it. You changed my life. And, like, even going up to him, I was like, I don't know if he recognized me. Like, we kind of talked about writing last year, and he was like, I did. I knew it. It was like, he was like, it's the hair. And because back then I used to have an afro.
That's awesome, bro. What the fuck?
And so he was like, it's the hair. Like, I definitely like remember you. Like, we talked about writing, and I definitely like told you to like do stuff more in school. Like, what have you been doing at that? And I was like, I actually did a fucking internship this year. And he was like,
awesome, man.
And he was so shocked and amazed. And he was like, you know, he said, you'll say things like that to fans sometimes and whatnot, like people that seem like they want to be writers, and like 9 out of 10 times they won't get it.
Yeah.
But
They
that
just
one
look at
person,
it like cool moment. You know?
yeah, and he's like, but that one person, like 1 out of 10 times, I think you might. I think you might be it. And I was just like, thank you, man. I'm doing it.
That
like,
means a lot to you, and then that fucking changed everything, man.
It changed my life, and
awesome.
since then, every year I go to Comic-Con, all I do is spend my time in the Artist Alley at the Javits Center, where all the writers and artists are, and I talk to writers and artists all 4 days.
That's really
all
important.
I do is just get them to know me, and they
you gotta
know,
surround
like,
yourself by that, man.
Like, it's gotten to the point where one of the biggest like names in DC, Scott Snyder, who's a writer, even vouched to be a referral for me when I was applying for my Marvel internship.
That's fucking amazing.
And it's like,
that's amazing.
it's shit like that where I was like, when he said that to me, I was like,
You're living the dream.
You're joking, right? I was like, I'm being punked, right? Like, this is stupid, right?
Nah, man, that's such a blessing, and you earned that. Again, you earned that. It wasn't just like, oh man, you look cool, let me just do it for you. Like, no, you earned that.
I feel that.
And people want that, and so they gotta work for it. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta start yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, you just gotta start, hit the floor running. You know what I mean? Just like. It takes that, because you can reach those. Like, I remember when you told me that shit, I was blown away, bro. Because like, I've met so many creators. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be one myself, and I don't need the validity of that, but I would love that. Hell yeah, you know what I mean? Like, because to be recognized and be like, hey, I'm not trying to take over your stuff, but aid me, let me aid you into getting yourself better with what credentials I have. You know what I mean? And that's super valuable. It's basically networking, and that's universal. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think it's an important message, and I think we can end there. Sure. I also want to for sure talk about real quick that you cover music, man. And I really want to say that. Thank you for sharing that, because I hope if you're watching this and you're creating comic books, that you look at, I'm looking at the laptop, that you just consider like what's possible, man. Like, that's very amazing. It's very fucking amazing, man. And I love hearing that shit all the time, man, because it's just, I'm gonna go meet some fucking directors and shit. But how do you feel when you cover music, man? Because I'm gonna put some of your stuff up so people can see. I wanna just branch to that real quick. No brushing.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, to me, like, music has always been as equally important as like comics have been. To me, like, I almost consider punk rock and like comics as like bread and butter. It's like they're peanut butter and jelly.
I can definitely understand that shit, you know.
It to me, they just mesh so well, and because I started playing guitar the same year that I started really reading comics, my freshman year of high school.
That's so like amazing, the duality of just information and entertainment, just mixing. It's just reading what you're imagining and hearing what you're imagining. You know what I mean? It's so cool.
Like I grew up like listening to Green Day and Blink-182 and reading fucking DC Marvel comics and shit, and that's just like what I did.
You're blessed.
And like when I first started playing the guitar, Green Day was like the first band that I started learning songs from.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like a month after playing the guitar I was like, because I listened to Green Day, but I was never crazy about them. I just knew at the time, it's like, yeah, like everyone loves Green Day. They were the shit. It's Green Day. So like,
definitely very popular. Holy shit! I fucking Green Day, man. That shit.
And surprisingly enough, I never listened to Blink-182 up until that point in my life.
That is surprising to me, because you fucking love Blink-182, bro.
And it wasn't until awesome. Like a month after playing guitar, my mom drove me to school one day because I asked her to, and she was like, "Fine," and I was like, "Yes."
Nice.
and,
nice.
And like I put on the radio, and Z100 put on All the Small Things, and I was like, "This song's amazing."
Oh, that's fucking cool, man.
Like my fucking 14-year-old brain was like, yeah.
This is
no.
That's super cool, man.
And from there, I fell in love with Blink-182. I listened to like their entire discography in like an entire day, and they're the reason why I continued to play guitar, and they're the reason why I like got as skilled as I did to a point. And like and they were also the first band that I ever saw live. I made it a thing where I was like, you guys are gonna pop my cherry concert. Like, this is the band that's gonna do it.
That's appropriate because it's important. The concerts you see is important, man. You've been to some crazy concerts, you know you've told me. It's so cool, man.
It's fun.
Such an experience. And you can't do that shit now, you know what I mean? Like,
half
capacity and all that stuff.
It hurts, man.
Yeah.
I so badly miss concerts. Like, I was gonna go to literally my 2020 goal was to go to more concerts.
And the Lord said, no.
I had it on my chalkboard calendar. I was like, for each month, I was like, here are the bands playing each month. I had it almost like a checklist where I was like, I'm going to go to these bands each of these months. And it just, yeah.
I was supposed to see Lupe Fiasco. I couldn't see Lupe Fiasco, I'm telling you.
I was supposed to see this band, Starfucker, in March. And they're this like techno indie band, and it's like
that sounds awesome.
Like if you listen to their music, you would not imagine like what they sound like live, but they sound exactly the same live.
I gotta listen to
and it was going to be the first time that I would have seen them live because I only ever saw their shit online, and so I was like, this is gonna be awesome. I can't fucking wait to just get like stoned out of my mind
and just some live
and
show,
just like
right?
listen to like a live show like these guys, because it would have been my first time listening to a band like them live. Because I mostly go to like punk shows.
That's what I think is important too, switching up the genres, especially in live. Like, because I see a lot of like hip hop and rap, and I would like to see more like actual rock and just anything like vocals, acapella stuff. Just because it's good to see it differently.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I went to some random show right here across the street one time. It was super weird, but it was just some lady singing on guitar, and I was like, yo, this is different, and it's important for me so I can appreciate other music that I like. Because you need to, you know, broaden your horizons. Listen to what you listen to, but you know, seek out other music because it'll show you why you like yours and what you may like other things. You know, I was listening to Muddy Waters the other day. Got a burp, goddamn. I was listening to Muddy Waters the other day, and the simplicity of his voice with the guitar, man, and the twang of the, you know, like, it's just unreplicable, you know, but it still is able to be made because of the influence, you know. Blues is so important. Jazz is super crucial to anything that you listen to today, you know what I mean? Classical music, you know, like all that stuff.
Like I've actually like written papers about like the blues and the jazz and stuff, because it's like a lot of music wouldn't be where it would be today without the blues and jazz. And it's like I love like music like that. I mean, I love music in general because it's like there's so much to appreciate, and even though like
and there's so much of it just fucking everywhere,
and like, it's just even though I primarily and like mostly mainly only listen to like rock music, like I'm never upset listening to other music.
You have your preference, of course, you know. It's like food almost, you know. Ultimately.
Like rock is my comfort music. It's like it gets me through the day, and like I listen to different kinds of rock music to do different kinds of things. Like
rock gets me hyped, bro. Right?
Like,
oh my God. And sad.
Like,
everything.
It's like I'll play like slow indie rock. Like if I'm in a chill vibe, I'll play like acoustic stuff. Like if I just want to like do nothing and like just chill out, I'll play like old school punk rock. That's like the shit that's like you hear the fucking drum pound, like just hearing shit like that when I'm trying to like write something to just like really get my like fucking the keyboard going. It's like I listen to so many like different types of rock music within its own genre that it's like, even though everything kind of sounds the same at the end of the day, it's like I like the nuances and listening to bands that are well established and listening to new bands that like have like 13,000 listens on Spotify and are just trying.
Those are the ones that are really like want to be the next thing. Not huge, but just they want to be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like that's not gonna happen if no one's not listening to it. And so it's like I'm always trying to listen to new music, especially like that's why I like going to concerts, because when you go to concerts, there are openers, and the openers I always pay attention to. I'm always like,
because they could be the next one having the major concert. Yeah,
like there's this band Neck Deep. They're a massive.
I know them.
You know?
Yeah, not so much, but I just know of them. So that's
they're like a pretty big name in the pop punk side of everything. And they used to open for Blink-182.
Awesome.
And it's like,
they know they're talented themselves. They're gonna seek out for opening, man. It's like anything, man. That's cool as fuck.
Because that's what bands do. Bands choose their openers. For sure. Like they listen to new music and they want to like support and like provide new music to new people as
well.
well.
They want the show to last so much.
Exactly.
Nah, for sure.
It's an all for one for all type deal. And it's like
music is unity, bro. Ultimately,
it is.
You know?
Like there's everyone listens to music. There's not a single person that doesn't listen to music.
Even these birds chirping, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like realistically, it's music.
Everything is music, and it's like when I play the guitar, it's just it's so much more to me. It's like I just love like punk rock, especially because it's, to me, punk rock is my genre, is my flavor, because it's like it's this cacophony, like this clashing of like the cymbals and this loudness with such simplicity behind everything.
Yeah.
Like punk rock is so much of like a nursery rhyme almost of how repetitive it is.
Yeah.
But it's so chaotic,
energetic,
and there's it's like a collision of like emotions, and it's like I very much appreciate good lyrics always in music. And so like for me with like good punk rock music, it's like it's always a shit of just making jokes and being stupid and just having fun and living life.
Yeah,
and
I like that you like that aspect of music a lot because it really is crucial because life is not that serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like one of my favorite punk bands is Pup. Like I talk about them a lot. Like they have this song called "See You at Your Funeral." It's a fucking great song, and like there's in the verse he says something along the lines of trying to remember. He goes, saw me at the produce section trying to buy organic food. Yeah, you know me, a healthy selection. You know me, a healthy selection. All I try and do is keep myself healthy, but we both know that I'm a masochist. And it's just like stupid, like ridiculous lyrics like that.
It doesn't have to be this deep shit. I mean, whatever message is sent to you, but it could be this fun release. You know what I mean?
It's a release.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And like in that same song, and like it's always fucking awesome when they play it live because in the breakdown to it, the lyrics he goes like, "I hope to hell I never see you someday again." And it ends with like, "We can watch the highlights in hell," and it's like lyrics like
that's
that
cool.
where
that's
it's
cool.
like
it hits.
Yeah, it's just like wait, everyone's just fucking like because as soon as he says like, "We can watch the highlights from hell," like there's like a guitar riff like a doo 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 like that just brings it back into the chorus, and like when it just clashes all back in, like the crowd's just like, wow, like fun, everyone's thrashing about and just having a great time. It's like it's a beautiful fucking gorgeous mess, man.
That's awesome, bro. Awesome.
I was when I was tripping on acid.
How was that? Tell me that's
like, you know? I was listening to a pup record, like I put on my record player, and I was listening to it, and I was just talking about like how great like music is, and just how much I love it, and how much I miss concerts, and like listening to the music, and like I'm singing along to the music in my apartment, and I'm just blasting the music, and I'm just getting more hype because the acid's hitting me, and I'm just like, yo, this is so great, this is awesome. And I'm like jumping off the couch, and I'm like moving around in my apartment, like singing and dancing to the music, like having like my own personal concert inside. And I'm just like, just dreaming of like, fuck, man.
You wish you were
I
there.
wish I was in a concert right now. This feels so good to do this.
Concert withdrawal, if anything, man.
Yeah, I'm seriously going through concert withdrawal. I'm going around scratching my neck, like, y'all got any more live streams? Like, where them live streams
The live streams
at?
have been really great in terms of music, for sure. All aspects, any music you listen to. I love it. Shout out to Natasha Diggs, that's some other person, but like, oh my god. I lived through the live streams for music, and yeah, man, I fucking love it. And I need to go to more concerts because I need to broaden my horizons with that shit, because I love all types of music myself, but I've always thought to myself to only see like the real mainstream big artists, but it's the little small ones that like really surprise you and stuff like that. And I wish a lot of people that I knew like literally perform over there, I didn't go see none of these motherfuckers, and now they're all like major people. So I agree with the opening shit, man.
When I took my little brother to his first concert, it was for this band Remo Drive, and I asked him pretty early on. I was like, "Oh, so like, you ready to get in the pit when like everyone starts moshing?" And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I don't want to get in the pit." I was like, "Dude, don't be a pussy." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that, Javi." I'm like, "Come on, are you gonna crowd surf it at least?" And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." I'm like, "How are you gonna go to your first punk show and not like crowd surf or mosh pit? Like, this is ridiculous."
Come on, bro, you must.
And he's just like, nah, I don't wanna. And in my head, I'm just like, you're gonna do it. And so we're in the show. The show's going on. I wait for the perfect moment, and I'm standing like, he's standing to my right, and I see like a guy next to him, and like I take in the situation. I'm like, okay, I know how to do this. And so I turn to my brother. I'm like, hey, you want to crowd surf? And he just turns to me so dead face. No. And just turns back to the show. And I just look at him and I go, no. And I look over him. I look over his shoulders at the guy next to him. I'm like, hey, help me pick him up. This guy wants a crowd surf. And the guy goes, yeah. And Lucas is like, my brother is like, what? No, Javi. I said, no, I don't want a crowd surf. I'm like, yeah, help me pick him up. And he's like, okay. And he just starts grabbing my brother's leg, and we just start lifting him up into the crowd.
I bet you loved every second of that shit. Come on.
I lost my brother for the next 20-30 minutes, dude. He awesome. Ended up onto the stage from the crowd surf, and like I saw him up there, and he was like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, you just gotta jump. You gotta be, bro, and jump. He was like, oh, I don't know where to jump. I'm like, I don't know, jump that way. They're moshing this way.
I myself have never crowd surfed. I'm fucking you. That shit looks mad fun. Every time you see it, I'm like, damn, I wish I was crowd surfing. It
was so fucking funny, and he jumps into the crowd, and I just didn't find my brother for the next 20-30 minutes. And in those like in that time, I'd see my brother get back on the stage like 2 or 3 more times. Awesome, so it's like I know somewhere
and
wherever he was,
they're performing there all the time. It's like
and it's like I know somewhere in the crowd, my brother said, I want to go back up there, and got back up there somehow. And because the second time I saw him up on the crowd, I said, yeah, I was like, he got it, yeah, he's doing it. Like, I got so hyped for him. I was like, fuck yes. And I remember when I did that, the guy next to me was like, do you want to go up? I was like, yeah, that's my brother. And he started picking me up.
They put you back up there?
And I got to my brother on the stage. I was like, yay!
That's a family, bro.
It was so great, man. He was so happy afterwards. He was like, I don't know why I didn't want to do that. I don't know why I was so scared.
And you would have regretted not doing that long term. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think that's really important, to be honest with you. Because when you don't do that and you reflect back, you're like, I should have just fucking done that shit, bro. Like, why the fuck? Do that next time you regret it, do that shit. Because it's just like, you don't regret that stuff. And
he said that, like, because of that, the next show that we go to, he's going to be prepared. He's like, I know what I'm doing at the next show. I'm ready to get crazy at the next show. He wants to go see Pup with me live, because I go see Pup every time they're in the city. Yeah. And he's like,
they're in the city often?
Have I seen?
No, are they in the city often? Anything?
They come mostly every time they do a North American tour. They make a stop here.
Okay, cool.
But like, their shows are so great. I love seeing Pup, and like, they only have 3 albums, but they've grown so much as a band, and like from seeing them live to seeing them live now, I've seen the venues grow.
Awesome.
Like,
that's so cool.
Every time I go see them, it is now at a bigger
You're a real
venue.
Fan. Like, that's a real fan. Like, I was seeing you in the venues, you know what I mean?
Like, I've literally seen the venues get bigger with every show that they've gone to, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, more people are listening to these guys, and it's like they're becoming more popular, and it's like it just makes it more of a fun experience when there's more people there.
I wonder how that feels for the band. Can you imagine? Like literally selling out nothing to selling out
those guys are the most modest people I've genuinely like. I don't like to use that word about like celebrities and things like that, or like any famous people. Yeah, but like that band, they are the most like humble, modest people.
That's awesome.
Because I've never met them, but something that and the only reason why I've never met them is because I wasn't of age. When I started going to their shows.
Okay.
Because something that they used to do back in the day when they were a lot smaller is that they would go hang out with the fans at the bars after the shows.
Oh wow.
And I couldn't do that. And so
from outside, like, and so answer one question, bro. You know?
It's just those guys, they love their fans. Like they love the people, and like their music videos are so creative, where like they love each other. They have a song called Sibling Rivalry. Awesome. And the song is because the lead singer, the front man, he has a sister, and they go camping and stuff, and like the song is basically about like how often they're at each other's throats. and
I'm sure it's a lot. Yo, bro, I imagine working with somebody is super difficult, because like everybody's mind is in play. Like, no matter how cool you are, like, work is work, and like when it's all you guys in one title thing, like, it's gonna get messy. But it should get messy, because if it isn't, something's up. You know what I mean?
And so
like,
with that music
like
video
that, you know?
for like the music video for Sibling Rivalry, like they have a thing at the end where it's like, oh, you know, like, here are the other bandmates with their, like, brothers and sisters, but one the lead guitarist is an only child, and they make a joke, and they were like, oh, but Steve doesn't have any children. And it's just a picture of Steve with it, like, him shrugging his shoulders. And like
it's just lonely.
And then they were like, but that's okay, Steve has us, because, like, you know, being in a band is like being in a family.
It really is, though,
and
right?
Like the music video ends with like a bunch of like a montage of band photos of them and stuff like that.
That must be really
because
beautiful,
their photographer is also the frontman's partner.
Okay.
And so like she
always been there type shit.
Yeah,
right?
She's always been there, and it's like that band has such a great relationship with each other. It's like they are very much a family within each other, and like they are just always on the same page, but clearly much like because of that they are always at each other's throats. They have a song called "If This Tour Doesn't Kill You, I Will." because that's literally something what the bassist said to the drummer one day, like when they were still touring in their van and shit like that, and he got so pissed off and he was like, yo, I'm gonna fucking kill you. If this fucking tour doesn't, I will. Like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And they wrote a song about that.
And I bet you that song was heat. Like, it was good.
It's an awesome song, man. It's a great fucking song. I've covered that song, actually.
Nice. Well, I will definitely show. I'm gonna show a whole bunch of stuff here for sure if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I started covering music, like, my sophomore year of high school. Like, I would just start doing it randomly.
How did it feel to do it the first time, though? Like, how was it?
Well, when I first started my covers, I only ever did the guitar, and I would only get a shot of the guitar body. I was never like in it, like, pretty much.
Should've done with the afro, bro.
I was too embarrassed back then to like have myself in it. Like at that point, I was like, you're just gonna see the guitar, and plus, like, I didn't even think I was that good on the guitar anyways.
But it's ambitious, man. It's the principle and ambitious of you to even like think about starting.
Yeah, I was just like, I want to try this out, like, whatever. And like I did it a little bit, and they weren't good. And like I tried uploading a couple of those videos to YouTube, and people were just like made fun of me for it. And so I was like, well, I'm not gonna do this then.
But that's the best advice you could ever hear. Criticism. Assholes.
I mean, it wasn't criticism. It was just comments of people just being like, "That was bad, bro." And I was just kind of like,
so I can tell you how bad it was.
And I was just kind of like, okay.
I'm just awaiting that stuff myself, but sometimes you just don't gotta read the comments of today's day and age too, because I feel like today's day and age is pretty whatever.
But I didn't
start
try it again until my sophomore year of college.
Do you think that had a heavy toll on you though? Like to see those comments, like aside the joking aspect of it, do you think it was like discouraging? Or...
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely discouraging.
Right?
What I did from there is that I made like little clips instead. Instead of doing full covers, I would just do clips, and like I started like putting those on Instagram and whatnot, and just doing like 1 minute clips. And this was like before Instagram could let you have like the thing where you have multiple posts and like multiple videos in a single post.
Yeah. It was just one thing you could put in.
Yeah, and like before IGTV and all that shit. So it's like it was just those 1 minute clips that I would just post on Instagram because I was like,
which I still think is good. I still think it's ambitious.
Yeah, I was like, hey, this is a small enough format for me where like the people following me here are more people that I know that aren't going to be complete dicks and assholes. So it's like, this is more safe for me to do this.
I agree, and that's the perfect word. I think is because I'm kind of against like advertising to the people, you know. But obviously, there's different like aspects of that, you know, like. You're not here trying to sell tickets to a show right now. Like, you're just doing what you love, and you want to show it to people that are obviously like, oh, like Javi's doing this thing. Like, I could be opinionated, but I can also, you know, like listen or not. And so I think it's a good thing to just display yourself, and that's why I think the principle of showing your craft is crucial because, like, I know the comments can be harsh and stuff, but like, out of all the hate, there's also that one person that's like, yo, keep trying. You know what I mean? Like, keep doing your thing. Like, I actually like that part. Maybe do this a little better. Like, because people care and they know how I feel. It's usually the people that don't do anything and go home and just do nothing and don't try anything ever. Like, those are the people that are leaving the worst comments, you know? Or, like, they tried once and they got fucked over by comments, so they just got to give it back. And I feel like for me, I mean, if I'm going to say comment whatever the fuck you want, like, oh, my God. Like, you know? But I think it's a real world out there, and I'd rather see the ugliness than, like, hide it from myself, you know what I mean? Not to, like, you know, in terms of that, but, like, if you're trying to do something that eventually needs to be criticized, a.k.a., like, if you're writing something, music, movie, whatever you're doing, you know? Like, eventually, I want my shit to reach people, so I'd rather all my stuff get heavily criticized than never seen at all, you know? Because fuck it, right? Like, I got one life, I got a GoPro. But I also got ambitions myself, and...
It's my favorite Nas song.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Those birds are awesome. But I really fucking think it's important, and that's why I like that you're here talking about that stuff, man. Because like when you do, it spews through your emotion, your talking, your voice. Like when you talk about music, it's not like when you talk about like, like, exactly, not at all. So I think people when they see that shit, it's great. It's super great to see. I love seeing it. Everybody loves seeing it, And yeah, man. But with this beautiful light coming in, I'm gonna end the show only because I think we're going for like a couple hours now. Yo, thank you for being here, bro. On some real shit. Thank you so fucking much. You're gonna be back. I'm assuming you're gonna be back. Yeah. Come through, bro, because I got a lot to say, man. I love it. I don't even want to end it right now, to be honest with you, but just so we can get another episode in the future, right?
Yeah, that would be the best move.
Say what you gotta say to the people, by the way.
I will just say, keep living.
Keep living.
Live today, not tomorrow. Today.
Yesterday. Type shit. All right, man. Yo, you're awesome, bro. You're awesome at this shit, man. Thank you for saying. I'm just so sorry if the mic doesn't pick up shit well. I will edit no matter what.
Yeah.
Yo, but Jesus.